I'm the first guest?
First guest.
Ever.
Wow, what an honor. I had no idea. Sorry, that really reveals that I hadn't listened yet. Fuck.
Welcome to episode 6 of the Brent Carlin podcast, the first edition of this podcast. We've managed to wrangle down someone who wanted to be a part of it other than ourselves.
I think if we put in a little bit of effort, we can get someone every single week too. And I love what we got going on this week too.
I was, not that I didn't think our guest was going to be good. I knew he was going to deliver, and that's why I specifically asked this person. But I know him really well. And there's some shit that came up in this podcast that I had genuinely no idea about, like enough that I texted you and him after it was over to be like, whoa.
Yeah, he had a lot of interesting stuff. We should say who it is.
Yeah, I guess we should stop. It probably says it in the thing already.
Yeah, so people already know.
It's Frankie Francesco Figliomeni from the Elwins. I would say like co-frontman of the Elwins.
Yeah, you've been buds with him forever.
Yeah, I met Frankie actually. So the Elwins are one of those bands that Indy was kind of playing, and I like them. And this is years ago. And I was like, it's kind of weird that we're not homies. I don't know why I thought that, but I think we just like jived with our like social media presences. We're always kind of like interacting with one another.
You can tell he's hilarious if you follow him on Instagram or follow along on any of his channels.
I was like, me and this dude specifically from the Elwins, we would get along, like for sure. And then it took an Indy 88 birthday party that they were at, not performing. They just like ended up getting free tickets. And I went up to him. I was like, aren't you guys from Keswick? I was
Great
hammered.
icebreaker.
Yeah,
Great icebreaker.
And they're like, well, kind of. And from that point on, like, we have been friends. That's all it took.
People should know that Brent is also from Keswick. He didn't just walk up to someone and say, aren't you from this town?
Yeah, well, Keswick is just like a middle of nowhere. Like anyone in Toronto, if you say, I'm from Keswick, they say, where is that? Then you have to say 30 minutes north of Newmarket. If they don't say, where's that? Then they know. Yeah. But I was like, wow, how do I not know you if we're similar age and we're from that small shithole town?
Yeah. Yeah, and he has a lot of interesting stuff to say. I thought one of the most interesting things was, we've talked about when you work in a creative field or you do anything creative, how important confidence is. And you just think with a band, because they're larger than life on stage and everyone's singing their lyrics back at them, that maybe they would be immune to that. But it was just interesting to hear that they too have insecurities when it comes to like the writing process or even putting out an album in its entirety.
Yeah, like the decision making that goes into deciding what songs make a record and how tour can not be as fun as it seems. Like so many of those stories I found so crazy. And then I did a little like expose journalism. I did a deep dive, my Nardwuar deep dive, and surprised the hell out of them with some shit that like had me crying, laughing near the end of it. It was so good.
Yeah, so we got them coming up right now. And thanks to everyone who's subscribed on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. We do really appreciate it. Where are you broadcasting from?
My little bedroom at my parents' home.
Is it
How about you guys?
Brent said you're from Aurora, right? Or Keswick?
Yeah. The other guys in the band are from Keswick. I'm the only Aurora boy currently.
How did you meet those guys?
Actually, Travis is in Newmarket now. I lied.
Okay.
I met them as a fan of the band. A friend of mine was really into them, and he was like, "You should check out this band." And at first, I was so lazy in high school. I was like, "I don't want to go to a show." So it took a couple times, and then once I did, I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." And then when they lost their bass player, I slid into the DMs.
That's all. You did it through Instagram?
Facebook.
Through
I didn't
Facebook?
have Instagram yet.
The original Instagram.
Exactly.
Did they audition you or anything, or did you kind of know them from meeting them?
I had only met them like so briefly. So I said, I forget what I said. Something like, I heard you guys might be looking for a new bass player or something. And they were like, yeah, do you know any? So then I was like, I could try doing it. So then I went to the jam space and did a little audition. And then they were supposed to leave on tour, like, I think I auditioned on a Friday and they had a tour on Monday. And they were like, can you leave on Monday? And I was like, let me ask my mom and dad. And
how old?
That's rock and fucking roll, dude.
Yeah.
I was 17.
Oh, you were that young? Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's intimidating, man. Like it's first of all, it's the most like bashful way. Like, I heard you're looking for a bass player. Maybe it could be me.
Yeah.
But like the fact that I imagine it's a really intimidating atmosphere to put yourself in. You have a friend that tells you these guys are awesome, so they're kind of already built up a little bit, and now you're like, I have to impress them enough that they want me in their band.
Yeah, I was terrified. My mom drove me to the audition, and then we got there early, and she's like, well, why don't you just, we're only 5 minutes early, why don't you just go in and say hi? And I was like, no.
We waited in the car.
I asked her to drive around the block until it was time.
That's hilarious.
Is it funny like looking back at that moment now, because you've spent like every waking moment with those people for the last how many years, but at one point you were like, I couldn't possibly hang in a room 2 minutes before my audition.
Yeah.
Hey, are you the type of bass player that is someone who was a bass player, or were you more of a guitar player that got into bass? Because I like, even when I was a teenager, I grew up playing guitar, but lots of bands would need a bass player, so you just play bass in their band.
Welcome to my
life. That is totally it. I just didn't want to like play in bands in high school, and just kind of like looking around, and I was like, oh, everybody's playing guitar and I'm also not as good as them. I just figured like maybe there's something else I could be doing.
Yeah. How do you prep for like an audition? Are you going in and being like, well, here's Primus? Or it's like, I wouldn't even know, like, did they give you a bunch of songs that you had to learn beforehand, or were you just trying to like noodle around to the point that they were like, this guy's got something?
Luckily, I didn't have to do that because that would be my nightmare. Luckily, the first record was out by then, so I was kind of just like, here are the songs we have. So I just kind of had to like learn them, and then we just jammed them as a band. That was kind of all we did for the audition.
How long have you been playing in that band? Because I've never known that band to not have you in it.
Since like this 2012, I guess.
Yeah. So a long time.
Yeah. But they were, it's funny since they started in high school. So there was like I think they started in like 2008 or something. So there was like a pretty long period without me. I just hope we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Just, we didn't discuss this in the pre-interview. There will be no pre-Elwins, pre-Frankie Elwins discussed in this fucking podcast.
Scratch out all the questions we have about how the band started.
He's like, I don't know. I was 14.
Well, for like the first couple of years when I joined the band, when all the interview questions were like, so like, how'd you guys meet? It felt so funny when it was like so fresh to be like, oh, I Instagram messaged these guys. Or sorry, Facebook. And then I was like, and now I'm here. It's like, it's not that great of a story.
I mean, I feel like it's, that in itself is a better story than most people just being like, we were all friends and decided to make a band.
That's true. The fact that we weren't friends.
Yeah. The fact that like being in the band is what led you guys to be friends.
Right. Yeah. We kind of reverse engineered it.
Hey,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask a completely different question. You just were talking about interviews. I'm always curious, coming from a radio standpoint, do bands like doing radio interviews generally, or is it like something that you guys dislike doing?
I fucking love it.
You love it?
I love it. I was driving, I was going to say the other day, but this could be weeks or months ago now, Carlin, but you were talking to somebody from the Sheepdogs when they were doing like one of those drive-in shows.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I was like, could you What part did you hear? So we're on the same page.
I think you were talking about the kind of questions you were gonna ask or something.
Oh yeah, no, Joe. What happened was Josie and Matt gave me questions, and we didn't tell them ahead of time that they gave me questions, and they were all just cringy ones, like,
Right.
yeah. Do you ever plan on having children? Things like that, like things you would never ask a guy. But I remember asking
That's a
him.
good bit.
Yeah, it was. He played along really well. He's a really nice guy.
That's sick. But yeah, sorry to go off course, but I fucking love interviews.
Yeah.
Especially when it's with other guys in the band, like when it's not just a solo one, just because you get to like say dumb stuff to try to make each other laugh. And I guess this isn't like a radio interview bit, but we always talk about doing this thing whenever we have to do like one of those morning shows. It's a bit called He's Thirsty, where one of us would be drinking the water they provide you, like a lot, like chugging it, and then starting to reach for other members of the band while somebody's answering a question. And then the person who's talking would be like, oh, he's thirsty.
You know, you guys would be the best people to interview because you come with bits ahead of time. That's amazing. That's like, I always can tell that some bands just don't want to be there, or I can feel that they don't want to be there.
There's
And
a certain energy.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like when an interview goes bad, I just feel so guilty about it that you didn't prepare enough. But at the same time, I also wonder, like, when you're interviewing a band, and I'm a fan of the Elwins, so this isn't you, but I've probably interviewed how many bands in the past few years? 100 of them. And there's probably 5 of them that you're genuinely a fan of. And then there's a bunch of bands that you have to research for the interview. And lots of the bands you can tell are kind of giving you that thing like, oh, you're not even a fan of our band, or you don't like our band. But it's more a situation where I think if both people are trying in the interview, like if the band, like we're doing it for the band's fans more than we're doing it for my, like it's not going on my demo tape.
It's
so I
the
feel
job.
like some bands, like, you have to prove to them that you're a fan, where it would be better if mutually we're both like giving it and trying in this interview, because it's going to go up on YouTube and the people who are going to be watching it are your fans.
A janitor doesn't like unclogging a toilet filled with shit, yet he does it because it's part of the job. There's lots of bands I have no fucking inkling that I want to talk to or put effort into the interview at all. But
you do.
What are some names?
Let's chat one here. I interviewed Half Moon Run, and I like Half Moon Run, but I know that specifically they're kind of not the, I don't know. They're a little bit uptight, let's say, with interviews. It was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
It was live on stage in front of a crowd of people, which is my least favorite way to interview anybody, because I can't edit it and make my questions sound pretty and polished. And I remember I was like, I read this in an article about your recent album, and guys just started laughing as I said it. And I was like, I am completely thrown off by what is funny about that.
Whoa. Was it
what were they laughing at that you were asking that question?
I honestly don't even know, but it's haunted me. And every time I hear Half Moon Run, I'm like a fucking flashback. But there were so many moments where I was on stage and one dude was giving me nothing. And on stage I said, hey, I understand that I'm like, it's this weird series that we have called On the Record. It's actually really cool because you interview bands and then you interrupt their live performance when they're getting into a groove with questions, and then they try to recapture the magic after you ask the questions.
That's never good.
Oh my God. It's like either all...
Still do that?
We do.
They didn't stop doing it like that?
No, that's exactly... I interrupt their flow to be like, so what did that song mean?
Okay.
And so they clearly were not on board with like the way that it was going. And I think I said something on the lines of, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah.
Wow. Does that happen? Like, you guys interview so many people. Like, do you often feel like there's bad ones, or is it kind of like something you've done so much that it kind of can just go well no matter what?
There were a lot more bad ones when I was just starting, because I don't think that we care as much anymore. Like, if a bad one happens, a bad one happens. If a good one happens, a good one happens. But I think the only way it goes really bad is if the band's ornery or if you don't prepare enough. Like I remember I was doing Way Home one year where I had to interview like 5 bands in one day.
Oh.
And lots of them were not, I don't want to say smaller bands, but they might have been more local bands that I was doing. And then I had Imagine Dragons, and I just assumed that I could do an Imagine Dragon. They were my last one, and for some reason I prepared the least for it.
Perfect.
And I could tell that they could tell that I wasn't prepared as much for it. And I think that Imagine Dragons, they kind of get so much hate that they're almost like really, like they felt like maybe I was one of those people that doesn't take them serious. That's what I felt from them.
Carlin, would you say that you did take Imagine Dragons serious?
I take every band serious, everything in my work serious.
I got so fucked up at Way Home, I had to cancel my Vance Joy interview because my boss took one look at me and said, "Oh, we can't have you on camera."
And this is the only radio state, like our boss was cool enough that they would let us do that.
Thank God. Like I still have a job. I could have easily been fired.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, this is why this goes on this podcast and not on Indie 88.
I'm talking about that.
Don't really broadcast that through the airwaves of Tirana.
Yeah.
One time we played a show in Montreal like a long time ago, and somebody from the college came to interview us, and she started off by saying, like, just so you guys know, like, I know nothing about your band.
Really?
That's the most college, like, God bless them, but holy moly, not a great start for just rapport.
So it was kind of, we still loved it, but it's just a funny way to start it. And then since she didn't really know anything, she kind of just had to ask like questions about Montreal. And she's like, so what do you like about it? And I was just like, I really like the trees. And then she's like, so do you guys have any music out there? Like, what's your music like?
As a band, no. We don't have any music.
God bless her, though.
This is making me sweat, like, thinking about being the other side. I interviewed the Sheepdogs in college, the entire thing with my Zoom recorder off. So I got none of it.
Wow.
And all that we had, they also thought it would be a good idea to do this interview during sound check. So it was just cack, cack, cack through the entire thing. It's just grainy, like, camera footage and audio that was absolutely unusable. And I got like to go off class because they had just got the cover of Rolling Stone, and it was such a big interview for someone in my class to get. So I got to skip class to do it. I came back and I was like, bad news.
That was terrible.
Interview went great.
You really liked me. We'll talk about it down the road.
So Frankie, what's your least favorite question that you get when you're getting interviewed? I'm selfishly using you to better my interview skills here.
I'm just feeding off of it.
One time this guy asked why we didn't get nominated for a Juno Award. And that guy was Brent.
Actually?
It was more of a bit.
Yeah, that was more of a bit, and I loved it.
I think the bit was I called you to congratulate you on being nominated, but you had to tell us that you weren't. Which, looking back on it, is so fucking mean.
No, I loved it. I'm trying to think. I think the influences thing like totally makes sense why people ask it, but I think just because we've had to answer it so many times, I think if we keep saying the same things, it starts to feel a little silly or something.
Yeah.
But also when it's asked like, what are you liking lately or something, that makes like a ton more sense to me because that's always changing. But it's like, what bands did you like when you first started? I feel like you can only say it so many times or something.
Yeah, is it one of those things that when you do answer it earnestly, like you can feel the band like almost laughing as you're answering it?
Well, I think for me, I feel self-conscious about it just because, like, you know, I'm gonna say the Beatles, and it's like, okay, yeah.
They fucking invented music. We get it.
It's like I want to roll my eyes at myself almost.
Yeah.
But maybe that's probably more on me then. the question itself. Much love to the question.
It's like the first thing you can think about, though. It's like the most standard question of all time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that question works more if like you're relating it to a certain sound that the band has, because it shows like you've done a little bit of listening and prep. If you're like, it sounds like you've been influenced by on these certain songs. But if you're just like, who is it? It is like that's a question in college. You're like, I'm a fucking journalist. And as you grow up, you're like, I'm never going to ask that question unless I forget my prep and I know nothing about the band.
It's like, where does the band name come from?
Yeah.
That's
Right.
another one of those questions.
Do you guys try to avoid those? Like,
Yeah, because you can tell the band's rolling their eyes. Like, you're not, like, everyone's perceptive enough to realize what's happening when you ask one of those.
I remember interviewing, and this band I will actively talk shit about because fuck you, man. I interviewed Hidden Cameras, band I could care less about, and I'll go as far as saying I don't like their music. But I had when I was
I'm loving the energy of the podcast, guys.
Carlin and I, as you'll see, two different beings. He's like, yeah, I'll say that they were more local, and I'm like, yeah, they were dog shit. But fuck the Hidden Cameras. This dude was so rude to me. I straight up went in and I said, hey, my boss just left. He was supposed to do the interview. I'm now left with a bunch of questions that I've read for the first time 5 minutes ago. I was very upfront and honest. And he's like, okay. So I'm reading these questions and he's giving me one-word answers.
Well, Brent, you came in with the thing that the college kid did to them and said, I don't know anything about your band.
But like, I have these questions and I don't want them to think that I pretend to know the band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go in and say, listen, I don't know anything about your band, but blah. I'm just saying these questions, if factually incorrect, I did not write because I was supposed to be holding a camera for this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not an interviewer in this scenario. This is when I was a digital intern.
And that's one of those situations where it's like you're doing this interview to give them clout to post something that you produce and make on YouTube, and it's for your fans to consume. So it would be better if you just answered the questions.
Yeah. But they gave me one-word answers and were looking at me with like daggers the whole time. So I finally said, stop the camera. And I was like, listen, man, I don't fucking have to do this at all. I'm just doing this because I was told to, and I'm an intern. I was like, so if you don't want to do it, we don't have to. And I'm like, I'm trying to be very like matter of fact, like we can stop it here and it doesn't have to be painful anymore, you know? And he's like, no, let's finish it. Then he's a bigger asshole to me and starts answering questions and clapping each word in my face.
Really?
It was like, so that's why I did that.
Well, fuck that guy. I hate him.
I know.
And his band.
I couldn't believe it, dude. I could not believe it. And we had like the camera operator, like Dave Kennedy. Like I could feel his like how uncomfortable he was in the entire scenario. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm even going to show to my boss.
Is this available to watch anywhere?
Yeah.
No, thank God. I mean, like Dave might have the B-roll of it, but that certainly wasn't uploaded for Canadian Music Week's content.
Just doing that to someone who's an intern makes you a shitty person.
Totally. I was 20, I think, or like 2021. Crazy. I couldn't believe it.
Good for you for being able to like stick up for yourself.
I got to the point where I was like about to cry. It was like more so out of like fight or flight moment. I was like, you're embarrassing me, man. Like I'm just trying to help.
When I had a conversation about interviewing bands with Bookie, he said the only ones you have to worry about are the ones that are on the way up or on the way down that take themselves way too serious. And it's so true.
Yeah.
Because anyone that's like there is gracious. Like they're happy to be interviewed. They feel like they belong. But anyone on the way up, not anyone, but like oftentimes if you run into one of those, it's someone who's just kind of needs people to take them really serious, or that they're just on the downside of their career, I guess.
Yeah, never fun interviewing a band that you know is on a steady decline.
Mm-hmm.
And also trying to be like their hype man, being like, but this record could do it.
The Elwins, though, How's the
We're on
band
our
going?
plateau.
No, you're on the way up.
You're on the way up, baby.
What have you guys been up to?
We just got our own studio space for the first time, which has been sick. The last record we mostly did in the basement of my folks' place. So we signed our first lease as a band. So that's really cool. We got an EP that's coming out in April.
Cool.
And then we're going to go straight into the next record, which we're hoping to have out in the fall, I think.
What's this lease like? Do you guys sign a year-long lease to have studio space?
Yeah.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's in this building that had like a bunch of rehearsal rooms, and it was like the only unit that had like an isolation booth in it. So it was available, and we snagged it up real quick. So yeah, it's been really cool.
Is the EP leftover stuff from the last Elwins record, or is it like brand new stuff that you've been working on post that, like during fucking pandemic more we're living in?
It's tied to the last record. It's 4 tracks, so we're calling it 4 More.
Nice.
It's gonna be like a different version of Take Me All the Way, a song that didn't make the record, and then a demo and a voice memo of 2 other songs.
Cool.
How do things work with the Elwins? Because you sing a bunch of songs, Matt sings a bunch of songs. Is it basically whoever writes the song sings on the song, or do you guys flip a coin, or what goes?
It's basically whoever writes it. We've always talked about like trying to write a song for the other person to sing, but we have not done it yet. But maybe someday.
I love the idea of it being a coin flip. The fate of this song is heads or tails.
Well, that's like it reminds me of 4 Years Strong, how they say they just go through with the highlighter and are like, you sing this part, you sing that part, you sing this part.
Oh,
we're gonna have fucking so many. I feel like our demographic is very rooted in people that would actually very much appreciate that 4 Years Strong reference. Because I fucking love 4 Years Strong, dude.
Yeah, same.
How has it happened many times that you guys, I guess, what am I trying to say here? When you're picking what songs make the record and don't make the record, is it usually everyone agreeing, or has there been times where you're like, you have to put your foot down against 3 people and be like, I fucking believe that this song should be on it?
You know, like I feel like in an ideal world, everybody is in agreement, but sometimes, you know, it doesn't happen super often, but sometimes there's songs that maybe somebody doesn't vibe on, or like when we first started writing the last record, I was really like strongly opposed to Take Me All the Way. And I was like, I don't think we should do this, guys. I was like, this does not feel right to me. And I really like made my case. And then like a couple weeks went by, and I re-listened to like Matt's original demo, because before that I was listening to like the version we had jammed at first. And then when I listened to the original demo, I was like, oh, this is really cool. So then I came back and I said, you know, I may have been a little harsh. I think we should try it. But
that's
then
awesome,
sometimes,
like the willingness to be able to come back and be like, I was wrong, or like to listen to it and give it an honest opportunity, I think is important.
Oh, thank you. Have you guys seen Walk Hard?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
There's this part where like the dad hates Dewey Cox in that movie, and then when his song is like getting played on the radio, he eventually says like, maybe I have been a little hard on Dewey. And that's something we quote a lot. So if I ever like come around to something, I'm just like, maybe I have been a little hard on Dewey.
Love the idea.
So that was one of those moments.
Take Me All the Way blaring through the speakers as you guys are driving down to the city, and you just, I may have been a little hard on Dewey.
Yeah. That's a good song. You were straight up wrong on that one.
I was wrong, yeah. Well, I think like I get so in my head, and like the version that we had, there's just like this feel to it that I really felt like was like a different type of band, and it was like a type of band I didn't think I wanted to be. And I put like so much on that idea and like so many negative emotions to it that it felt like this huge thing to me, when at the end of the day it's just like one song and it doesn't matter at all.
What type of band are you talking about? Like more
Yeah,
what?
name names.
I don't want to name
Yeah,
names.
okay.
I'm saying more poppy.
Hidden
more
cameras. Well, I think like the way we were playing it, I had like more of like, what I want to say. I feel like there's like a sweet spot of like kind of like tipping your hat to like some retro vibes, or like maybe there's like a bluesiness to that song.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we were jamming it, it was feeling like it was starting to go in like this like southern rock kind of vibe in my head, and maybe a bit of like a cock rock vibe.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't think this is right, guys. Not that I don't love cock rock.
Yeah.
Catch me at a Nickelback concert, front fucking row, horns all the way up.
But I'm curious, like, do you guys get that vibe at all from that song?
I wouldn't even think that. I wouldn't.
I
think
never would have thought
song.
cock rock
Never.
ever.
That's amazing. I'm such a fucking dumbass.
No, but I mean, I will say though, it has a very different vibe from any Elwins stuff that you guys have released previously. So when you are getting kind of like accustomed to a certain sound and a certain vibe that the band is throwing, and it shifts that drastically, and especially if there's like a different version it started off at, it could be like a little, well, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Thanks for making me sound like I was in the right.
So, Matt, you're lucky your fucking song made it, buddy. Oh, it's a banger. I fucking love that song.
Yeah.
I got some deep dives, some deep questions here.
Fantastic.
Nothing about music, just surprise cues, a little Nardwuar type research.
I'm so excited.
Did
you find these in an article?
Yeah. So laugh at me as I'm asking them, please. I love it. Could you tell me about your lineage in Schreiber, Ontario?
Wow. Yeah. My dad is from Schreiber, Ontario. Have we talked about this before?
No.
Whoever is the host, thank you for upgrading the meeting.
They gave it to us for free.
Fucking right.
Wow.
We ain't paying for it.
My dad is from Schreiber, Ontario. It's a very, very, very tiny town. He grew up there, and then he told me that like a lot of people wouldn't leave unless like they were married or something, and he decided to leave as a single man and move to the big city, and that was apparently like a
fuck
big
the
thing.
social norms.
Yeah, but yeah, there's like 3 restaurants, a couple hotels. The first tour I was on with the band, actually, we drove through, and then because my dad told me if you're there, like try to stop at Fillane's. It's a hotel that like a distant relative owns. And we were driving through town, and we parked in a parking lot, and a truck drove up beside us. And he says, "Can I help you guys with something?" And we were like, "Yeah, we're looking for Fillane's." He's like, "I'm Cosmo Fillane. That's my hotel." And Ferd is in the front seat. He said, "Oh, that's sick. We have Frankie Figliomeni in the back of the van." And he is like, "Mike's son? Like Dominic's nephew?" And he started listing all my relatives. And they were like, "Is that right, Frankie?" And I was like, "Yeah." So then he has like a monopoly on the town, essentially. He has like a hotel, a gas station, restaurant. So he took us to a restaurant, and we were just shooting the shit. He has his own brand of water bottles as well. And
wait, like refillable water bottles, or like he has like he's a Nestle in his own?
He's a Nestle man.
Yeah.
So he took us to his restaurant, and he had like all these records on the wall that were his, and it turns out he had like a singing career in like the 60s and 70s. And he made some like really cool records. And then he walked behind the bar and he turned around and he had a microphone in his hand and he started serenading us, and he sang like a full song.
Was it beautiful?
It was beautiful. It was called Forget About It.
From a guy named Cosimo? No fucking way.
I know, right? But yeah, I had always heard stories about it, and I didn't get there till I was like 17 or whatever. So it was a very weird first introduction. But it was cool to see, like, you know, my dad had never really talked about it that much. So it was cool to see where it came from.
You know what? I grew up in one of these towns until I was 14 years old, 700-person town. And I know exactly what that is like. And I had a moment like a month ago. I was going through Facebook and I found people that I went to like junior high and elementary school with, like grade 7, 8, 9, and they're still living there. And I was like, oh, I can't imagine if that's what my life would be like right now, like if I was still living in that small town.
What are you talking about, man? You could be Cosimo. You could have a fucking hotel, 3 restaurants, fucking singing till the Elwins. Yeah. Forget about it. It sounds like a pretty sweet life Cosimo has.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up, Carlin?
So I grew up outside of Edmonton. I lived on an acreage outside of the small town was called Thorsby, Alberta. And it's like 45 minutes from Edmonton. And then I moved to Edmonton when I was 14. Wow. And I lived there till I was about 20.
That's sick.
His heart never left.
And my heart never left, yeah.
Right. How'd you find that Schreiber question, Brent?
I've done some digging. Okay. I got another one here for you. Probably not going to be nearly as interesting as that last tidbit because I actually really enjoyed that. Can't even get it out of my mouth. It's so dumb.
Oh God.
I'm looking forward to this one now.
Do you know what the questions are, Carlin?
No, I don't. I'm being surprised by these too.
What's your relationship? What's your relationship like with egg wraps?
Like...
I'm so stupid.
This wasn't in the pre-interview.
I'm actually crying.
Did you talk to Ferd?
What's your relationship like with egg wraps? Answer the question.
What? My mind's going to the dirtiest thing possible, and I know it's probably not that.
Oh, it's not.
I'll just get this out of the way. The pandemic's been hard on everybody. We can all agree on that.
Yes.
I got into this weird groove where I just liked... I was doing nothing all day, so I liked having consistency. And I hope this is what you're referring to, Brent. Otherwise, this is pointless.
Different egg wrap story.
I started really enjoying making like little egg burrito wraps for lunch. I'd get the Dempster spinach tortilla, some eggs, sometimes some onion, a little guacamole, and some salsa, some cheese, and I'd grill it up in a pan. And the first couple of times I made it, I was like, I don't think I've ever made an egg wrap at home before, and it's fucking amazing. So I just kept doing it, and it got so bad that there was about 6 weeks straight where I made one every day.
That's what I was talking about.
And Ferd was staying with my family at the time, and he'd start walking by and be like, another egg wrap, eh? And now I'm self-conscious about it.
Every time he has an egg wrap, Ferd's voice replaying in his head. Another egg wrap, eh? Another egg wrap, eh? Another egg wrap, eh?
Well, it's like they're delicious, but nobody wants to be the egg wrap guy.
No.
Oh man, I gotta say that was all my investigative journalism with 2 questions, and both of them delivered huge.
I'm so glad.
Hey, Frankie, are you missing being on the road? Are you the type of person that likes touring? I can't imagine being on the road for months at a time. Like I love being at home and sleeping in my own bed.
Sorry, I was distracted by Brent's cloud there.
Oh yeah, he's vaping.
um, I do miss it. I think therefore I am. First off,
Billie Eilish.
there was like a tour when we were promoting our last record that I think, fuck me if I say I think one more time. I was having like a bit of a hard time on for some reason. I think, God damn it.
It's okay, man. It's okay.
Everyone has those words.
I'm so sorry, guys. I want to do such a good job for you too.
And you are, sweetie. Keep going.
It was the first time since I had joined the band where I was feeling like, I don't know, like a bit like worn down or something, where I wasn't like enjoying the tour as much. It was also like a really long one. But it was also like mixed up in like some feelings about the record we had made and like where things were at in the band. That I think I was feeling like a bit frustrated. So I was kind of like, this tour isn't, it obviously wasn't a bummer the whole time, but I was like, it's definitely not the best time of my life. And then things felt like so much better when we made this last record where I was like, oh, it's going to be so fun to tour this. And we were also just in like a lot better of a place between the four of us.
Oh man, yeah.
And so we kind of didn't get a chance to do it. So now I'm kind of like itching to do it again. Now I'm really missing it.
I can't imagine driving around with four people that closely. Like I work with Josie and Matt closely for 3 hours every morning. And I love both Josie and Matt, but I like love them 95% of the time. And then I also fucking hate them 5% of the time sometimes. So like, and that just happens with any relationship. Like if you've ever moved in with a friend and they became your roommate, you kind of like, you can learn to hate certain things about them. But yeah, I can't, like, how are you guys touring? What do you tour in?
We have a Chevy van.
Damn.
Yeah, so we're in tight quarters.
Yeah.
Do you, Josie and Matt, like, do you hang out a lot outside of work?
I don't with Josie as much. Like, Josie has a family. She has young kids, so
does
and she
Matt.
lives on the other side of the city. Matt and I, we haven't hung out a ton because of the pandemic, but before, like maybe once a month or once every 2 months, we'd hang out after the show and get drunk at 10 a.m. in the morning. But yeah, it's kind of been a while for that.
I find that's an interesting thing too, where it's like you're friends with these people and you work so closely with them, but also kind of like maintaining friendships outside of like what you do, just so it's like you're not only hanging out when you're like doing band stuff or whatever, or
yeah,
at Indie 88.
And you're definitely friends with Ferd outside of the band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I friggin' love that guy. Well, I did before he leaked the egg wrap scandal.
He was fucking Elwins scandal.
He was living there with your in your parents' house with you?
Yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
fucking sick.
Did you guys have like family movie nights?
Yeah, at the start of the pandemic, we had game nights, taco nights, pizza nights.
This sounds so wholesome and actually so nice.
It was really nice. He still comes over for Bachelor Mondays, which has been great. It's been a hell of a season.
I watched one season of that. It's a lot.
It is a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot.
I'm new to the Bachelor Nation, the show. I've been a Bachelor my entire life. But
ladies,
I actually just applied for Bachelor in Paradise, Canada.
Did you?
Yeah.
Holy fuck. Why aren't we talking about this?
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'm going to get in.
Tell us what the process is like.
You had to say a little bit about yourself. Why I think I would be a good fit for Bachelor in Paradise.
Why don't you tell our listeners?
Yeah. Do you have the audition video? Can you flip that and we can put it in the middle of the podcast here?
I wish I did. I didn't save it. I just put it in the application. But I'm watching The Bachelor as I'm filming the video. It was like directly after the commercial came on to be like, this is happening, that I filmed it. So I'm kind of like watching the TV and saying like, sorry, I'm actually watching The Bachelor right now.
Such a big fan.
Huge fan. But I said like, I'm a pretty fun guy. I may have thrown in that I am from a Juno nominated band because I figured it's like a Canadian thing.
Yeah.
it asked for a full head to toe shot, and I couldn't find one on my phone, so I just did a photo of Travis and I sitting on a couch together, which my feet are in. And then I did a headshot as well.
I like
So
your
fingers
chances.
crossed.
Yeah.
If you got on that show, it's the only way I would watch it.
I kind of feel like I wouldn't do well.
What do you mean?
I feel like people are so forward on that show, and I feel like I don't know if I have that in me.
The only thing I see going wrong for you on the Bachelor in Paradise, right? That's what it is.
Bachelor in Paradise Canada.
Bachelor in Paradise Canada, City TV. Is I feel like you're not a kiss and tell kind of guy, and that's what the entire show is about.
Yeah, I would tell you guys on the podcast, but I wouldn't tell Bachelor Nation.
Yeah,
You would settle it down. You'd be one of the people in a showmance originally.
What's the showmance?
Do you watch? Are you a big reality TV guy?
Not huge. I watched. What was that? Were you guys on the launch train?
No, I didn't ever watch it.
I was.
What is it?
I was really into that for a bit. And then Bachelor, that's pretty much it.
But when it's Big Brother, Survivor, or any other stupid show, when two contestants get together on the show, they call it a showmance. I don't know which one it's derived from, but they definitely use it on Big Brother.
Well,
it's a Big Brother thing, I think, now that I think about it. I said 3 times in one sentence.
Big Brother was auditioning for I don't know, Big Brother Canada a couple years ago, and I thought about going on it because I wanted to be the first guy on a reality TV show to not take their shirt off in the pool.
That's good.
That would be hilarious.
Everyone's fucking shredded, and I'm like, don't look.
I always wanted to try auditioning for that, but I was watching. Have you seen Love Island? It's the worst reality TV you can watch.
I've seen bits of it.
I was watching that and I'm like, I think I'm finally at the age where I don't want to be on a reality TV show ever. Like it
Really?
just, yeah, just the way that people behave. I think I'm too old for it now. And I'm not old or anything. I'm 31 years old, but like just the whole thing about it where you got to act so excited and whatnot.
I wouldn't be able to do like
Amazing Race team
with the hosts and shit. That's where I wouldn't be able to do it. Like when they're like, "All right, guys, we got a group outing at," I'd be like, "Cool."
Yeah, that's exactly.
I wouldn't be like,
mean.
"Woo!"
Yeah, exactly.
Almost knocked my mic off there. I got so excited.
It's been sick watching Bachelor during the pandemic just because you can tell they're running out of ideas for dates. So they showed one last week where it was literally the girls had to, I think they had to eat a hot dog really quickly and then chug a thing of beer, and that was like the fun challenge.
It's what I do in between commercials at like when I'm watching TV.
See, you'd be perfect for it.
Hire me.
Sorry,
Awesome.
I did that thing that I hear people on the phone do when they run out of things to say. They do that little sigh thing.
So that signals it's up to everyone else to talk. I think this is great, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing our podcast, Frankie. You shared some great stories with us.
Oh, thank you. I had a blast. It gave me a reason. I shaved for this. I understand that podcasts are just audio. I shaved for you too.
Thank you.
I'm not stupid.
Let it be known. This guy is sharp as a tack.
I like eggs, but I'm not a fucking dumbass.
They gave me something to do instead of making another egg wrap.
My egg wrap actually sounds pretty good right now. But yeah, this was really fun.
I feel like this is the podcast that is going to make people say, "Why isn't Frankie the third host?"
I mean, whenever you guys want me, I'll be back. Even if you want to throw to me for a segment, we can kind of do a Mike on Munch thing.
We're definitely going to have to bring her back because this was fucking so funny. I cried laughing for the first time on the podcast. So.
I was so glad. I hope I didn't meander too much.
Oh, we love
Not
it.
at all. if you want to pump anything from your band to our 40 listeners here, you got new album coming out.
Free plug space.
We're gonna move the needle for you here, Frankie.
Here I go. There's a new Elwins EP out in April. New record coming in the fall. I'm gonna be putting out some solo music this year.
Oh, you didn't mention that yet.
I'm sorry.
My bad.
my bad, guys. I'll take the heat for that one. And shout out to my dog and everybody who's making those vaccines.
What a way to go out on. All right,
you guys sorry.
You guys anti-vaxxers? Is that what you're just about to say? No, we believe in the vaccine. Yeah. And I'm a Johnson & Johnson guy, if people are wondering.
Oh, you don't want to have to do two hits?
I mean, you know what? Fucking make it 3. I'll take all the Michael chips you guys want to put in me.
Did you say Michael chips?
Yeah.
So Frankie's got solo music coming out, Elwins EP in April, then a new record in the fall. Follow them on your social media channels. Frankie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, our first guest.
I'm the first guest?
First guest.
Ever.
Wow, what an honor. I had no idea. Sorry, that really reveals that I hadn't listened yet. Fuck. Is there egg on my face?